My name is Meredith Trapp, and I am here with Kate Bachnight. She observed a model lesson on reading and making inferences. So you taught the same lesson after you watched me do it. How did it go when you taught the lesson yesterday?
I feel like it was really helpful for me to watch you do it first, the same lesson, because reading was one thing that I've really been struggling with just keeping them engaged, especially this week with this really long story that was kind of confusing. And so I used some of the strategies that you used when you had them put their finger on the first word and you told them the word. I really noticed that they were a lot more engaged. And so I really felt like it went well. I only chose the one strategy, the making inferences, and that was the one that we focused on. So I think there was a lot more focus and engagement overall.
Yeah, and when I taught it too, because it asked to do the inferences and main idea, and I decided to do the same, and I could tell that it was less time. Like, it only took about 19 minutes compared to 40. So I definitely think that they were more into it. So I'm glad to hear that it was the same for you. So what specifically went well? Any strategies that really worked? Or, I know you said the pointing was good for them. Anything else?
I think, like, the pointing was the main thing. It just kept them all on the right page. It kept their eyes on their books. I made sure that they were in, like, a good spot beforehand. I noticed that, do your kids have, like, a carpet spot?
Yeah, they have assigned spots. They know exactly where to be.
Okay, so I didn't necessarily do that, but I just kind of made sure they were making good choices about who they were sitting around.
Yeah, that definitely helps for them to know where they need to be. It kind of takes away from the chaos of, I want to sit next to my best friend, and they're really focused on what we're doing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm glad that you did that, and that helped.
Also, another thing that I was going to say, I liked how you tied in, like, shared classroom experiences, and you were talking about, with making inferences, you connected it to the story where it was talking about, like, you haven't seen your family in a while, and they all know your family. Right. So I tried, I can't remember the example that I used, but it was something that we all had done together.
Yeah. And with us, like, earlier in the week, I think the first day we talked about making connections. So I tried to show them that, you know, I'm making connections too. And I feel like when I talk about, when I'm not looking directly at the book, they're not, you know, their eyes aren't wandering around, and they're kind of focused on, okay, what is she going to say next? Like, how does this tie into what she's teaching me? Because I think sometimes they think it's boring or they don't want to do it. So, you know, and things like that sometimes just kind of pop up in my head. So if you feel like it's, like, right in the moment, definitely do it, because I think it does help them.
And I also felt like, sorry, I keep adding things.
No, you're fine.
But I felt like I was less attached to the book this time, and I think it was because I saw you do it, and you weren't attached to the book, and so it made me realize, like, I can look over this and take the meat out of it, and I don't have to, like, sit there and read it. So that was good for me to see, too.
Yeah, and it took me a while to do the same thing. Like, I had to really look at it and say, all right, is this example that, you know, that the book gives, is it going to make sense to my kids? If not, that's when I tie in things that are going to make sense to them and are going to help them.
Right.
So, you know, definitely just looking over it, not feeling like you have to, you know, cram everything in. Just thinking about your kids and what works best for them. What would you do differently next time? Was there anything you tried that you didn't really like or want to do better?
One thing that I saw you do that I didn't do that I want to do in the future is the little posters of the strategies. I had it in my brain of, like, the definition and stuff, but I think just having that visual would help them. Yeah, so I need to just plan ahead and have those printed out for them. Yeah,
and with open court being so repetitive and they'll see it again, it'll be good to bring it out and say, all right, remember way back when, you know, we looked at this, and they'll kind of think back to that. And I have, what questions you have, and I know from your reflection form you asked about what was coming next.
Right.
So I knew that inferencing was pretty tough, and it was something that they needed to grasp outside of reading a story. So what we did today was I pulled out my pocketbook, and I pulled out a few things, and I asked them to make inferences about me. So I was like, here is a credit card. That's our clue. What do you know about it? So you use your schema. And they said, well, that means, like, you use it to buy things, or you have to pay your bills and things like that. So I was like, all right, what inference can you make about me? And one of my little girls said, you have money, or you like to shop a lot. And so I told them that, like, you're always making inferences. It's something you don't notice you're doing, and for them to know that it's not just in a story.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did today, just to take it out of that hard story that we're all having to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely wanted to, point that out on how you can extend it, because inferencing is tough. Are there any other questions other than how to extend it? Do you have any more questions about the open court layout?
Something a little bit different. So I have a child that goes to resource, and he always comes back during that reading time, and it just kind of breaks our flow.
Right.
Do you have any strategies of what we can do to get him in? So I don't have to sit down and open his book.
Right. How soon, before you read, does he leave? Does he leave in the middle of it or before y'all even start?
He leaves before we start and then comes back when we're in the middle of it.
I would suggest maybe just already having his book out, just telling him, all right, once you get back, we'll be in reading. This is the page we're going to be on if you want to have it at your desk or even down on the rug if he knows where he's going to sit.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of kids that just like to help each other. And maybe if you find a kid that likes to help, and maybe that'd be a good way to kind of get them, have their input and, give them some motivation to help, I guess.
Yeah.
Have a kid say, all right, I'll get their book ready, get their book and the other kid's book. And so when they come, it's already there.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And then just kind of tell them the number. I have kids that leave for intervention in the middle of it. So I always have them have their little intervention bags with them so it doesn't interrupt our flow.
Gotcha.
So, wrestling around with materials definitely takes away from everybody's, even as a teacher, I get distracted too. So anyway, you can just cut down on them having to find their book and flip to the page and everybody, curious about what's going on.
Right.
Maybe just already having it out would help.
Okay.
So you could always try that and see. And then for our next one, I'll watch you. Is there anything, or is there a specific lesson you want me to watch? ELA-wise, phonics, writing, so I can give you some more tips during that.
If you could watch my reading and just tell me how I'm doing.
Yeah, so kind of use some of these strategies and see. Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you. I hope this helped you, and I'm looking forward to next time.
Thank you.